That may be the greatest catch I've ever seen in my life.
Okay, I want to give a shout out to Benny 10K who gave us the idea for this video. In this video, we are going to go through and we are going to look at a real money dynasty startup draft, and I'm going to pick out my favorite value from each round. Now, I couldn't figure out if I was just going to say, okay, well, let's go the best player in each round or the best value. But of course, if you're drafting at the 101, you're going to be able to get Josh Allen compared to, I mean, picking at the 112. What are we really going to be comparing Allen to Kyle Pitts? We can't do that. So we're going to go best value of each round. And I apologize if you were a part of this real money flock dynasty startup draft and your selection was not picked for this video. I believe I only have one of my own picks in this video, so I try to be as unbiased as possible. But of course, before we get into it, please go down there, drop a like on this video. You leave a comment if you think I got one of these wrong, because we'll be sharing the draft board as we're going along round by round. And make sure, if you have not done so already, go get our Dynasty research book. Go pre-order our Dynasty rookie draft guide over there on flockfantasy.com. In that Dynasty research book, we have so much quality information on how to rebuild a team, how to contend, how to adjust to a tight end premium format, how to adjust to superflex, age cliffs with value with production based on position, rookie hit rates, and what you should expect with early career value based on position, based on where you are at with your own rookie draft. There's so much information in that book, well over 100 pages. Now, if you don't want to purchase it on flockfantasy.com, of course, you can go sign up for Underdog Fantasy. On Underdog Fantasy, you can get into drafts with us on live streams. You can go check out their player props. But most importantly, when you sign up and you use promo code FLOCK, they'll match your deposit dollar for dollar up to $100. You'll get a free copy of our Dynasty research book. You'll get our Dynasty rankings and our rookie rankings for free over there on Locals. But of course, thank y'all so much for checking out the video. Let's dive into it. Let's go round one. And here, it's round one. What the hell am I supposed to say? We know pretty much every startup draft looks the exact same for round one. I'm going to go... I don't even know what I can say. I'm going to go with Jonathan Taylor at the 107. Of course, you would prefer having the 101 with Allen. You'd rather have the 102 with Mahomes. You'd rather have the 103 with Justin Herbert. I feel like every one of these picks, I mean, kind of just fell in line with what you should expect. But when you get Jonathan Taylor falling to at the 107, very rarely are you able to just pull that trigger, like the fact that Caleb, I mean, saw that quarterback run happen at the beginning, saw 6 quarterbacks going off the board, and he decided not to overreact and draft someone like Joe Burrow or Dak Prescott ahead of Jonathan Taylor. Instead, he took what he perceived to be the best value on the board, the Dynasty running back one, someone still on their rookie deal, someone that was the running back one last season. So I like Jonathan Taylor at the 107. And now let's go to the second round. And this is another round that, I mean, a lot of these picks seem standard. So it's really hard to go out there and nail just one down. And I'm going to go in the direction of the tight end that was selected here. I'm going to go with Mark Andrews. Now, if y'all had a chance to read our Dynasty research book, y'all have already seen that really having a 1.5 points per reception mark on the tight end position shouldn't necessarily change the value drastically. But what we have found with the amount of tight ends that are flexible is going out of your way and soaking up a lot of those tight ends in the middle rounds. Someone like Pat Frymuth at the 5'10", someone like Dallas Goedert at the 7'11", Zach Ertz at the 9'11". Those picks are very bad in a tight end premium format with the opportunity cost that you have at the receiver position. So even though you're not getting a massive edge in having that elite tight end, as a lot of people would assume you would in a tight end premium format, a lot of times it does make sense just to take the elite guy at the top. That way, when people are overdrafting the players in the middle rounds, you're able to just soak up a wide receiver value there. So I'm fine taking Mark Andrews at the end of the second round, especially based on what we saw last year. Now, I'm slightly concerned that Rashed Bateman, who's someone we'll talk about a little bit later in this video, may see an increased target share this upcoming season, drawing away from Mark Andrews. But I don't know. I mean, this is an offense that I think should be dynamic. And I think people are almost a little bit tired of the Baltimore Ravens at this point, even though they're still one of the best offenses in the NFL. Now, going over to the third round, again, if I was picking my favorite player in this round, I'm probably going Matthew Stafford. I'm not going with this receiver. But if we're talking about the value that they were taken at, I'm going to go T. Higgins at the 310. If we're looking at T. Higgins, this is a wide receiver that from a per game basis last year was identical with Jalen Waddle. I know everybody wanted me to take Jalen Waddle at the 302 when I asked for your opinion on this draft over on Twitter. Now, I don't necessarily see why people just think Jalen Waddle is a tier ahead of T. Higgins. I personally have Higgins ranked ahead of a lot of these wide receivers, including Jalen Waddle. And the reason is their points per game last year were damn near identical. If you look at Higgins, this is a wide receiver prospect that was an elite level guy coming out of Clemson, and he is extremely young, younger than Jalen Waddle, has an elite level quarterback attached to him pretty much for the next decade. Now, I understand, of course, Ja'Marr Chase will continue to expand his target share in Cincinnati. Ja'Marr Chase will definitely account for more targets this upcoming season, but that's why Ja'Marr Chase is going at the 109. T. Higgins is being drafted later in dynasty drafts right now than he is in best ball leagues. If you go pull up Underdog Fantasy and you look at their best ball ADP, which are all real money leagues, everybody there is over 18 years old, so they know what they're doing, and every league has a buy-in. So that ADP is very valuable. There, T. Higgins is being drafted higher than he is in dynasty drafts. T. Higgins is going into year 3. T. Higgins is 23 years old. T. Higgins is attached to Joe Burrow in an offense that just significantly invested into their offensive line. I think T. Higgins is a lock to be a top 10 to 12 wide receiver going forward every single season. Combine that with his age and the stability that you get with this selection from a floor ceiling combination on production and value makes a ton of sense here. Now, going over to our 4th round, here, I actually lied to you. I guess I'm going to have 2 picks on this list. I forgot that we included this guy in the best value, but I'm going to be going J.K. Dobbins at the 411. Now, with J.K. Dobbins, he's in that tier of guys for me that I have no idea how to rank these players from a dynasty perspective. I mean, players like Antonio Gibson, Joe Mixon, J.K. Dobbins, Cam Akers, they're all in the same tier. Now, with J.K. Dobbins, he goes significantly behind a couple of these other players here. He's going behind Joe Mixon at the 305. He goes, 15 picks behind Mixon? This is a running back that in 2020 checked every single box. He's like Kenneth Walker, essentially. He's Kenneth Walker, but you put him on the Baltimore Ravens, where we know this is going to be one of the most efficient offenses in the NFL. He tore his ACL before the season even started, so I have no questions surrounding his ability to return from that injury in a timely manner. I mean, based on the 9-month timetable that we always look at, J.K. Dobbins should be able to make it back by training camp. He should be able to make it back by the preseason. He should be 100% good to go week 1. Very excited about Dobbins. Of course, it's a running back that's not going to have an elite pass catching upside just because how he was used at Ohio State. The player he's playing alongside in Lamar Jackson's not going to be dumping the ball off very often when Lamar is an elite rusher himself. But we know that the efficiency on a per touch basis should be able to be through the roof for a player like J.K. Dobbins. So I'm very happy that we were able to get him at the 411 as our first running back off the board. But we did not stop taking running backs there with J.K. Dobbins. We continued it over, and I honestly think the best pick in the 5th round as well came from yours truly. This was at the 512, so the last pick in the round. Here we go with Travis Etienne. So y'all know we've been talking a lot about what we are looking for with running backs as prospects. We're looking for them to have the adequate BMI to go out there and handle a 3-down workload. We're looking for them to have the speed that correlates directly to fantasy success at the next level. Check for Travis Etienne. We're looking for them to have the passing game ability to play on 3rd down. Hell, Travis Etienne averaged like 4 receptions a game his final year at Clemson, and we are looking for the NFL draft capital that indicates that that player should see opportunity moving forward. Hell, Travis Etienne went in the 1st round. Travis Etienne checks every single box as a prospect. The one thing that held him back is he stayed all 4 years at Clemson. Historically speaking, that's not really what you want to see for running backs. It hurts the running back position in our model less than it does at wide receiver, but still, it is a small red flag. Now, I know a lot of people are concerned about the injury, and 100%, I'm with you. Yes, I would be a lot more concerned if it didn't occur in the preseason. However, very similar to what we're speaking on with someone like J.K. Dobbins. If Travis Etienne had his season-ending Liz Frank surgery in week 14, damn, I would be just getting a migraine every single day this offseason trying to determine what we are going to do with Travis Etienne in Dynasty. But because he has 12 months to fully recover, to fully rehab, and his backfield mate in James Robinson has his own devastating injury at the very end of the season where you don't want to see it happen. He tears his Achilles, not even ACL, at the very end of the year. It's going to be damn near impossible to see James Robinson make that return in a timely manner. Maybe, just maybe, the recovery process is a little bit different now, seeing a player like Cam Akers being able to come back sooner than 12 months, but clearly Cam Akers was not himself. It looks like Travis Etienne should be set up to be the 3-down. I don't want to say bell cow running back, but the 3-down player getting every valuable touch in this offense. We talked about this all offseason with guys like DeAndre Swift and Travis Etienne. No, they're not going to get every touch out of the backfield, but they're going to get every target out of the backfield and every touch in the red zone, and those are the only touches we care about in fantasy. What have we always said? Travis Etienne, DeAndre Swift, these are the new age running backs. They are our generation's Aaron Jones and Alvin Kamara. Now let's go down to our next round, and this one is going to be difficult because I have my own guy that I want to give a shout out to here, someone that we took in Kenneth Walker. I know the Dynasty community, however, is going to value one player in particular a lot higher, so I'm going to give the best value away to Tua Tagovailoa at the 603. Of course, I would not be going in this direction if it wasn't for the addition of Tyreek Hill, but if we're looking at this Miami Dolphins offense and you were just saying, okay, well, they have an elite speed receiver in Tyreek Hill that we know can operate far downfield. We know he can operate close to the line of scrimmage. They have that same exact mold with Jalen Waddle, who, I mean, quietly had a fantastic rookie season, even though it flew under the radar just a bit based on Jamar Chase being quite possibly the best rookie wide receiver of all time. Looks like it's going to be really hard to stop this Miami Dolphins passing offense. Now, I've never been a massive fan of Tua Tagovailoa, but based on the supporting cast that he has and based on the dynasty value that is currently associated with Tua, I think he does have to be the best value here for a 12-team Superflex format. Now, what I would probably be looking to do is I'd probably be looking to try to sell high off of Tua Tagovailoa off this point based on the surrounding pieces in his offense. But the majority of other startup drafts that I'm looking at, Tua is going well before this. Tua is going closer to that 504, 505 range instead of making it to the 6th round. Now let's keep it at the quarterback position. Let's go with some stability. Let's go with Kirk Cousins, who falls to the 708. Now in the 7th round, nobody here really does have league-breaking upside. I mean, we're looking at players like Jerry Jeudy. I mean, he could have been consideration in this list. You have Chris Olave, but can we sit here and reasonably say, oh yeah, it's in the range of outcomes for Jerry Jeudy, it's in the range of outcomes for Chris Olave to become top 3 dynasty wide receivers? Not necessarily. I don't think really any of these players has access to that level of ceiling. So if we are going to be missing out on that kind of ceiling, wouldn't it make a lot of sense for us to go through and potentially take a player that has the most stability? And that's exactly what Kirk Cousins has. If you're looking at Kirk Cousins with how they went through and restructured this contract, Cousins is pretty much guaranteed to be the starting quarterback in Minnesota for the next 3 seasons. Now, of course, with Kirk Cousins, you're never going to get a top 5 quarterback finish in fantasy based on the fact that he's not going to be able to run the ball. But in a Superflex format, you take Kirk Cousins here at the 708, just have a guaranteed second starting quarterback attached to Justin Jefferson, of course. That is exciting as well. I personally took Jerry Jeudy at the 702, and I am fine standing by Jerry Jeudy over Kirk Cousins. But if we're talking about value here where Kirk Cousins goes 6 picks after, I really like that selection. And now going over to our 8th round, we are going to have our 3rd Baltimore Raven on this list. We are going to be going with Hollywood Brown at the 807. Now with Hollywood, this is a wide receiver drafted in 2019 in an extremely talented draft class that had A.J. Brown, Deebo Samuel, DK Metcalf. I mean, a ton of talent in that room. But Hollywood goes in round 1 Hollywood continuously improves through the first 3 years of his NFL career. If you look at the split with Lamar Jackson this past season, the first half of the year, Hollywood Brown was a low-end wide receiver 1. He was a low-end wide receiver 1 before Lamar Jackson went out and Tyler Huntley went in. Of course, Tyler Huntley being added into this offense is going to mess things up a little bit. Of course, Tyler Huntley is not the same level of quarterback that Lamar Jackson is. So you saw Hollywood Brown take a small dip, which of course in turn lowered his dynasty value. But if we just take a step back, this is a 24-year-old wide receiver that has been a fantastic option through the first 3 years of his career. He hasn't shown any signs of slowing down. He outproduced DK Metcalf drastically this past season. Same draft class, same age. Metcalf's going at the 312. Hollywood's going at the 807. Now, of course, yes, I'm with you. I prefer DK Metcalf over Hollywood as well for obvious reasons. But should the gap be this large? I don't necessarily think so. We're going to go with Hollywood at the 807. And now going into the 9th, we have Leonard Fournette at the 903 with Leonard Fournette re-signing with Tampa. This is a running back that personally, I don't really see a big gap between someone like Leonard Fournette, Joe Mixon, someone like Leonard Fournette, Derrick Henry, Leonard Fournette, Dalvin Cook, Leonard Fournette, Alvin Kamara. These are all veteran running backs that you're drafting for production this season and not really expecting anything 3 years down the line. So if we are going to take that running back that's probably going to be off our roster or not making a difference 3 years from now, wouldn't we rather be doing so at a significantly lowered price instead of passing on Devontae Adams, T. Higgins, Tyreek Hill to take Joe Mixon in the 2nd round? Wouldn't we rather be passing on Cortland Sutton, George Pickens, and Kadarius Toney to take Leonard Fournette in the 9th when the production this upcoming season shouldn't be that different? Fournette averaged over 6 targets a game this past season. He was a top 5 running back on a per game basis. And of course, you should expect some regression for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers offense. I doubt they're 2nd in the NFL in scoring this upcoming season. But with Leonard Fournette, it's not like he went out there and averaged a touchdown a game. No, that's not the case. The touchdown rate was actually lowered for Leonard Fournette because this team had such a high passing rate once they got into the red zone. And I think this production for Fournette is completely sustainable. Love the value at the 903. And now going over to the 10th round, we are going to go right back to the Baltimore Ravens. Now, we're going to Rashed Bateman. I will say in most drafts, I don't love the Bateman value. If you're looking at our rankings, I have Rashed Bateman ranked in a very similar range as Chase Claypool, Brandon Ayuk. But the thing is, Bateman lasts a lot longer than those players in this draft. Bateman's going right before Christian Watson, Hunter Renfrow, Allen Robinson, Sky Moore, Jahan Dotson. Bateman, if we would put him in this draft class, he would 100% grade out to be a much better wide receiver prospect over those other rookies in this round. On top of this, if we're looking at Rashed Bateman, this is a player that does have an excuse for not producing this past season. Obviously dealt with a groin injury at the beginning of the year. By the time he finally got into the lineup, you had Lamar Jackson going down. So I believe this is our 4th Baltimore Raven. 4th Baltimore Raven on this list. Maybe that says something about me. Maybe I need to be higher on Lamar Jackson than I currently am. But what I really like about this offense is it's very concentrated. You don't have a lot of wide receivers like Devin Duvernay, like Sammy Watkins. I know they're on the roster, but you don't have them soaking up volume. You don't have them actually getting targets. I mean, with this Baltimore Ravens offense, when it comes to the receiving options, you know who's getting targeted. So even if the passing volume isn't through the roof, when it's this condensed, I think you could have multiple players viable for fantasy. I do like the value of Rashed Bateman as a 10th round selection. And now let's keep it at the wide receiver position going over to round 11. Someone who just got paid the bag. We're going to go Christian Kirk at the 1107. This is a wide receiver that was impressive last year if you're looking at a per game basis. Now, of course, he's going to be getting a quarterback downgrade going from Kyler Murray to Trevor Lawrence. But if you're looking at the competition for targets that he will have in Jacksonville, who the hell are we worried about? Who are we worried about in this Jacksonville Jaguars offense going out there and stealing production? Laviska Shenault, who right now is trade rumors circulating. Are we worried about Evan Ingram? Are we worried about Dan Arnold? Are you that worried about Travis Etienne? I mean, if we're worried about Travis Etienne going out there and soaking up that much target volume, I guess we should be a lot higher on Travis Etienne. But yeah, no, I really like this pick of Christian Kirk, young wide receiver, clearly getting paid a crap ton of money to be the wide receiver 1 for Trevor Lawrence, who we'd assume is taking a step forward this year. In the 11th round, completely fine with that value. And going over to the 12th round, at the very end of the round, I have to go with him. Our pick, I guess we actually had 3 picks in this draft. Maybe I'm a little more biased than I think. But we're going to go Devin Singletary at the 12-11. If you were looking at other running backs that went ahead of Devin Singletary, you have Zamir White, you have James Cook, both with massive question marks with their overall profiles. Where Devin Singletary, trust me, I don't think he's a talented player by any means. I think even if you're living in your wildest dreams, Devin Singletary is still a below average running back in terms of his talent profile. But if you look at the prospect profiles of Zamir White and James Cook, these guys have massive red flags. These guys are not really going to be anything at the NFL level. And with Devin Singletary, as it stands, he projects to be the starting running back for the Buffalo Bills. The starting running back for the Buffalo Bills. I think that's a fantastic value. And going over to the last one we're going to have in this draft, we'll talk about Irv Smith Jr. going at the 1306. Irv Smith Jr., no Tyler Conklin, no Kyle Rudolph. Last time we saw him in Minnesota, you had both those tight ends stealing volume. Now, I know that you have some questions surrounding the overall offensive scheme and how often they're going to be using a tight end, but still with Irv Smith Jr., an incredibly young player that I was excited about this upcoming season. He is about 3 months older than Pat Freiermuth. 3 months older than Pat Freiermuth. This is not a blocking tight end. This is not someone that's in there to increase the efficiency of Dalvin Cook. No, this is someone that when he is in there, he is going to get targets. Adam Thielen is an old man at this point. Adam Thielen, I wouldn't be that surprised if they're putting him in a retirement home in 2 to 3 seasons. Irv Smith Jr. is that cornerstone piece of this Minnesota Vikings offense now that we wanted him to be last year. But maybe things happen for a reason. He should be good to go this upcoming year, very similar to the other players we talked about, J.K. Dobbins, Travis Etienne. This was an injury that occurred before the season started, and a lot of people thought with the torn meniscus he could possibly make it back by the end of the year. Clearly, that didn't happen. But still, with Irv Smith Jr., you know he's going to be good to go this upcoming season. Now, of course, thank you so much for being a part of the flock, supporting the channel. Really hope that y'all enjoyed this video. Let me know if y'all want more videos like this sometime soon. I'm going to get a version going where we talk about the worst pick in every round. But yeah, please go down there, drop a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment if you think that I got anything wrong, and go get our Dynasty research book on flockfantasy.com or go make that deposit on Underdog Fantasy with promo code FLOCK. And when you do that, you get our Dynasty research book. You get to hop into drafts with us on a live stream. You get our Dynasty rankings, our Dynasty rookie rankings, and they'll match your deposit up to $100. But yeah, thank you again. Hope you have a great day and hope we get to see you with the video tomorrow.